What's better, YouTube? Hopefully just amazing offenders and not your playoff football team, and welcome to the house. This set has been in the dumpsters in terms of price, and now quality control is also being spotlighted. It felt like we turned a corner with Mavens and Battles of Legend. Everything was awesome. People by far were not complaining, and there were some cool misprints, even like no name, no imprint Starlights that were just mind-blowing out of battles. And then you had card stock for unlimited power of the elements, and I haven't heard any complaints there on quality control pulls either. But here with amazing offenders, we see Ruxin, and he does not open just a little bit of product, or almost half of his ultra rares damaged. I can't imagine as a vendor having a set this bad fall into my hands and go, well, okay, we're gonna crack it, we're gonna burn and turn it, and then getting a ton of damaged desirable cards out of there in terms of the set. That is just awful. Desirable, by the way. Then there's this one, which has a mixed reaction. Personally, I'm not a fan. I love foil bleed. I even go out of my way to try to get foil bleed cards, but a lot of collectors in the misprint community specifically, they don't consider that a misprint, and they also tend not to pay extra for it. I do know that it ups the demand of cards at times, but here it's partly in the text box, and then you have factory damage scratches all over the side here, and then on here. Ink errors can be pretty darn good, but this one, I hope that the attention to it does get it a little something extra for the owner, but this is damaged. I wouldn't necessarily consider this a misprint. And then you have the no name, no imprints. These are the desirable ones. Why it's better than, say, having an imprint of the name with no foiling is people can attempt to wipe the foiling off and recreate that misprint. With this, you can't recreate that from the factory. You can't, like, push the card back out without damaging the back, that kind of thing. So it's pretty darn cool to see these, but versus the damage, absolutely unacceptable. This happens pretty much every set. So this is an, oh my gosh, quality control on these. I actually enjoy them, versus damaged cards out of the pack being pretty unacceptable, especially when it comes to this kind of scale. Again, Konami, I hope that you actually look at these. You look at whatever went right with Mavens, Unlimited and Battles, and end up fixing this. Absolutely unacceptable for a set that's already falling out. Now, Purely did take over. This is why I'm not a financial advisor channel. I don't know the future of card prices or where they'll go. I thought Mikanko would take over initially from the set, and long time Purely would be atop. But here, Yu-Gi-Oh! Eevee, it is atop the set, even passing 1-for-1 right now. And in terms of the import collector rares, they are all tanking for the most part. Isolde's about where I thought she would be, but Renowned, Orochi, and Card Trooper all by far under, and it'll be interesting to see where this goes. People are opening this and turn and burning it like it's a crypto, like actual crypto dump. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I haven't seen something like this specifically with Yu-Gi-Oh! In a while. Ancient Guardians probably, which is a comparable set, but in terms of the collector rares as well, that I thought people would try to hold on and get value out of because you only see the specific ones in 1 out of 4 cases. Card Troopers, 3 of them past formats, and it's already down to 33. So people are just trying to get this out of their hands. The top ultra is around 20, which is Ohime, and then you have the Purely Eevee here. It's around $10, and then that deck's by far the most successful in terms of overall value, and the Mikanko is also up there. The Rescue Ace pretty much in shambles. Again, I told you all not to buy pre-sale specifically, even though I am sponsored, even though code What's Good 5 for 5% off and support the channel directly would end up, you know, making me money. When it comes to the long term of pre-sales and talking pre-sales, I always put my audience first, because even though I do have the sponsors, I only get paid when my code is used, meaning my audience pays me whenever they do the purchases. That's why I said, hey, I wouldn't really be going into these. I think a lot of them will end up bottoming out. And bottom out, they pretty much did. Now, the collector rares, you can try to throw the darts at the dartboard with those and guesstimate, but this time, it was a fallout on pretty much every single one, except the Purely here, and I haven't ever seen, I don't think with a set, every single collector rare except for one end up going down day one like this. This is pretty wild in terms of where this set is headed, and how much people just do not want to touch it. Now, I do want to talk about a conversation in the Discord, and people called the pre-sellers scummy with this set. And I actually want to pull up a calculator here, because I have never seen a set sell this low on pre-sales. Pre-sellers tried to do it right. They just shot over, and I did say that I thought it would be over opening weekend, but for what they did with this set, I think it was extremely fair. They're gonna assume the average order is going to be using a discount code, right? $476 for an entire section of all 3 decks with playsets. Let that sink in that you're only pulling 3.6 of each ultra rare on average per case that's busted open, and now we're going to take 5% away from them, and they're also going to pay me a small percentage out of this, so they'll see even less, right? If it sells. And I told you not to buy, once again. So when we're looking at this for all 3 decks, then they only get 4 collector rares per case. They're aiming to make razor thin margins and also pay international shipping here at tier 0. They're pretty much trying to operate at break even. That is not scummy. As a business, they did the best they could with what they have, and I will back that up. Again, I said not to buy, but when it comes to their listing prices and what they tried to do, scummy is not the right term. Did they still overpriced versus what the market would be? Yes. Did I see that coming? Yes. Could I have been wrong? Absolutely. People could have tried to buy into this depending, but I think from a mile away, it was somewhat obvious where this set would end up going. Let's go ahead and talk about meta changes though and what's happening here. Book of Eclipse is highly looked at for the upcoming metagames, and the holographics are hitting all-time highs. You have the super rare here actually heading back up towards $13 freaking dollars, and you have the ultra out of Dual Devastator starting to spike once again, heading towards 2. That set that just keeps on giving and giving and giving, but it does have kind of foil bend issues to a degree, so make sure your copies are good for competitive play. That's why a lot of people prefer the super rare. The only other high rarity is the shatter foil from back in the day that will give Necros players a lot of nostalgia. We also have the Kashtira, I always murder this, Shangri-Ira here, the Xyz. I pointed out that this was not bulk a while ago, that had gone up towards $1. Now it is heading towards almost $3. So again, this is why I try to hang on to certain cards and don't go as bulk. Modern supers are harder to get than they were previously because half the set is hollow, and then you also still have, you know, the 6 other hollows that aren't super when you're talking about a box. So more super rares than ever for the actual super rare pool, but not what you're pulling necessarily. And yeah, it's kind of wild where super rares are going right now. Drone Lockbird, somebody was like, yeah, Ulti Drone Lockbird's looking pretty hot for this upcoming format. Whenever you bring me cards to try to push on Market Watch, I'm gonna look them up. This is doing nothing but tanking. What are you talking about? It's down towards 150. Now, format dependent hand traps are cool. I don't necessarily think Droll's gonna be taking over this next format. It really could depend on a ban list or something, but at 150 and going straight into the dip and the entire collector market in a sense being really crazy, and it also now having competition from the collector rare droll, which is slightly turning up here, yeah, you could start to speculate on it, but absolutely not. It has a new form of competition in the collector rare, which an entire play set still goes for about 1 of these, and I understand that that competition is what's draining it to a degree. Is the ultimate rare really cool? Yeah. Is it what I would be looking at right now? Probably not. I would continue to watch it though and make decisions based on the future, but right now, probably not. Performapal Monkey Board's one of those cards I just didn't know had the price tag it does. I know Simo and his series are on this or about now, but $9 for the super rares, I didn't know it had it like that and was sticking. And I also didn't know the common was consistently like a 50-cent plus common. So this is why I always save cards that were played in the past out of bulk. If they don't get a reprint for a long time, this is what can happen, especially with more popular or controversial formats. Speaking of Pendulum, Sky Iris, the super rare, this is actually down over time. I just didn't know it was a $6 super rare plus, and then that the commons were also doing this well versus bulk. I would have thought it would be released in more places, but here we are. Apparently only 3 printings, and yeah, people are spending about $1 on the commons, and there's not the most. So again, things to look out of bulk that you might not not have known were worth what they were. Odd Eyes players are probably like, please stop looking at these. We have the Mitsu Insect Ninja. As I understand it, Nesh actually did some ninja combos, but they've been going up pretty consistently over time, not like overnight or anything. But yeah, they're at a higher point versus where they were at 71 to 73. I'll say a couple things about this. First off, Darkwing Blast, we still haven't seen anything indicating an unlimited run of this set as well, although that would be super welcome, I think, by the community. This would still have the first edition stamp. You have a couple of factors between A, it getting spotlighted, B, it having future support, and C, there are Starlight completionists who wait for things to bottom out, and when they hit this point and continue to slowly start to creep up, they go, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and put in and get mine, either a single or a playset to spend, depending on how they collect and spend their money. So when it comes to something like this, sometimes even junk Starlights tend to go up over time, especially when it's got that waifu tax and future support coming forth. And just going through cards, I wanted to say, this is a token I feel like's underappreciated. You have the Albaz lore stealing the spotlight for a while, but World Legacy lore is a lot of people's favorites, and when it comes to this token in OTS Pack 15, it's done nothing but gone down over time, and token buyouts have been happening a lot for, of course, ones that revolve into the metagame, like the Mecha Phantom Beast token or the Sky Striker token. This one with lore, people do build lore collections, and over time I could see doing better for itself. And right now it's at an all-time low. So you might want to get that sooner than later using my TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying. Now, speaking of not a financial advisor, I'm not always right. Cyber Dragon is something I thought would eventually take over OTS Pack 16 after Droplet got reprints. Boy, was I wrong. I thought that nostalgia, the ultimate Cyber Dragon being such a collector piece, all that stuff. $60. People were paying $200 on these at one point. It's just wild to see it continue to dip and go down. This alternate art not as loved, and Droplet's doing way better. But on a I was right note, Black Luster Soldiers higher end versions have continued to tank when we finally got an easy access version. And that we did thanks to Mavens. So with that, people are like, oh, why are they all going down like they are? The secret rare is actually holding better than I thought, but the ultimate rare, look at this, just absolute tankage over time, just oof when it comes down to it. So be aware that even high rarity versions can have that impact, and to be fair, Mavens did give an unforeseen extra collector version in the Pharaoh rare, so it got another high-end competition. Sometimes that can actually encourage people to end up collecting multiple versions of a card depending what it was, but for the most part, people just wanted an easy access version, finally got it, and that took a lot of heat off of the other versions. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Hopefully you're enjoying some football or your day if you're not a sports ball fan, and I appreciate you just for tuning in. Thank you so much.